Every single year, dozens of animals that were once thought to be extinct are rediscovered. From human-sized eagles down to bloodthirsty cats, here are 5 species that could be rediscovered next. First up is Haast's eagle. Native to New Zealand, this eagle was the largest known bird of prey, weighing up to 40 pounds with a wingspan reaching nearly 10 feet. This bird was a monster. Its primary prey was the moa, a giant flightless bird that weighed over 400 pounds. To give you a rough size estimate, this eagle was hunting something roughly the size of a cow. Now, Haast's eagle gets its name from Julius von Haast, a German geologist who discovered its fossils in the 1870s. He found these massive bird bones in New Zealand's Glenmark Swamp, and it didn't take him long to realize that this eagle wasn't just your typical bird. This creature was a killing machine. Its talons were as large as a tiger's claws, capable of crushing bones. This bird didn't just hunt, it ambushed, swooping down at up to 50 miles per hour to strike its prey. Scientists believe Haast's eagle evolved from a similar eagle species that arrived in New Zealand and adapted to hunt the massive moa. It's an example of island gigantism, where animals evolved to be much larger due to the unique conditions of isolated ecosystems. However, Haast's eagle's reign of terror didn't last forever. When the Maori arrived in New Zealand around the 13th century, they hunted the moa to extinction. With its primary food source gone and the forests being cleared, Haast's eagle didn't stand a chance. By the 15th century, it was gone, or so they said. The Maori legends talk about a giant bird called the pauakai, said to be big enough to carry off a human. Some people think these stories are based on Haast's eagle, which might have survived longer than we originally thought. A pair of hunters even claimed to have shot a pair of Haast's eagles as recently as the 1800s. But this, as far as we know, is unconfirmed. New Zealand's South Island has plenty of remote, unexplored areas where a giant predator could theoretically hide. Who knows? Haast's eagle might still be out there, perched high in the mountains, just waiting to be rediscovered. Next up on our list is the Columbian Grebe. This extraordinary water bird lived in the high-altitude wetlands of Colombia's eastern Andes. Measuring around 11 to 12 inches long, this bird had distinctive chestnut-colored plumage on its neck, a black crown, and piercing red eyes that gave it a distinctive appearance. It was closely related to the black-necked grebe, but adapted to its isolated environment in Colombia. First discovered in the 1920s, the Columbian Grebe was primarily found in Lake Tota, roughly the largest lake in the region, and occasionally in smaller wetlands like Lake Fukeni. These wetlands were crucial habitats, offering abundant aquatic vegetation and a diversity of invertebrates that the grebe relied on for food. Unfortunately, the Columbian Grebe's story is one of rapid decline. The wetlands of Bogotá Plateau, once teeming with life, faced severe degradation throughout the 20th century. Much of the area was drained for agriculture, particularly for growing onions, and urban development from the expanding city of Bogotá further polluted the remaining water bodies. The introduction of non-native fish like trout compounded the problem, as these particular species competed with the gerb for food and preyed on its young. By the late 1970s, sightings had become exceedingly rare, with the last confirmed observation in 1977 at Lake Tota. An expedition in the area to locate the bird was launched in 1981, but was unfortunately proven unsuccessful. But is it truly extinct? I believe it might not be. The Columbian Grebe was known for moving between lakes, and there are unconfirmed reports of small flocks in less disturbed wetlands. While most of its known habitat is now unsuitable, there are isolated high-altitude lakes that remain unexplored. Like other grebes, it might have adapted to survive in these remote regions. Further expeditions are needed to confirm whether the Columbian Grebe is truly extinct or still hiding in Colombia's remote wetlands. You can help make this possible by subscribing to my Patreon. Your support will fund expeditions and field content like this while giving you perks like exclusive videos, early video access, and your name in the credits. Plus, 10% of your subscription goes directly to the Nature Conservancy. If any of this interests you, don't hesitate to check the first link in the description to learn more and join the mission. Let's move from the wetlands to the tropical waters of the Caribbean to talk about the Caribbean monk seal, a sleek marine predator often called the sea wolf. This seal was once widespread across the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and Western Atlantic Ocean, reaching up to 8 feet long and weighing around 600 pounds. It had a smooth gray-brown coat, large eyes, and wasn't fearful of humans. Regrettably, this made it an easy target for hunters. First documented by explorers like Christopher Columbus in 1494, the Caribbean monk seal was abundant, with reports of colonies lounging on beaches and shallow reefs. Sadly, their abundance led to overhunting. Early settlers and sailors killed them for blubber, which was used to make oil, as well as for meat and hides. Over time, their food supply, primarily the fish and crustaceans, was depleted by human overfishing, further threatening their survival. By the 20th century, their numbers had dwindled. Extensive surveys were conducted to locate surviving populations. In 1937, researchers searched over 6,000 kilometers of the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean, but found no evidence of the seals. Another expedition in 1980 also failed to locate any, and the species was declared extinct in 2008, after decades of no confirmed sightings. However, I believe it could still exist. The Caribbean is vast, with countless remote islands, atolls, and underwater caves that remain largely unexplored. Over the years, there have been unconfirmed sightings of seals resembling the Caribbean monk seal, reported by fishermen and divers. While no concrete evidence has been found, the possibility of small, hidden populations persists. Fourth up is the pink-headed duck. This bird was unlike anything else in its environment, with the males sporting a distinctive pink head and neck contrasted by a deep brown body. The females were more muted in color, blending perfectly into their marshy surroundings. The pink-headed duck was first documented in the 19th century, thriving in the secluded marshes, pools, and swamps of India, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. It was a solitary bird, often seen alone or in pairs, preferring dense, overgrown wetlands where it could dabble for water, plants, and mollusks. But by the early 20th century, the pink-headed duck began to disappear. The last confirmed sighting was in 1949 in India, and despite extensive searches, it hasn't officially been seen since. Wetland destruction played a huge role in its downfall, as humans drained its habitats for agriculture and development. Hunting may have also contributed, though the bird's remote habitats likely offered some protection. Still, its population dwindled to the point where it was considered to be extinct. I'm not so sure about that though. The pink-headed duck's preference for remote and inaccessible wetlands has led to decades of speculation that it might still survive, hidden away in places like northern Myanmar's swamps. Over the years, there have been unconfirmed sightings and reports from locals describing a bird that matches its description. While no concrete evidence has been found, its secretive behavior and the difficulty of accessing its preferred habitats leave room for some consideration. Expeditions in the early 2000s searched Myanmar's remote wetlands, but came up empty-handed. There were reports of a sighting in 2006, but this is unconfirmed. Still, these regions remain largely unexplored, and many believe, including me, that the pink-headed duck could still be out there, quietly thriving, away from human interference. Lastly, we have the carnivorous Javan tiger, who once roamed the dense forests of Java, Indonesia. This tiger was smaller than its mainland relatives, with males weighing between 220 pounds to 310 pounds, and females slightly less. Its coat was decorated with long, thin stripes, setting it apart from other tiger subspecies. In the early 20th century, the Javan tiger was a common sight across the island. However, as Java's human population grew, the tiger's habitat began to shrink. Forests were cleared for agriculture, and hunting became rampant. By the 1950s, the tiger's numbers had dwindled significantly, confined to remote mountainous regions and protected areas like Meru Betiri National Park. The last confirmed sighting of the Javan tiger was in 1976 within Meru Betiri National Park. Despite extensive searches, no concrete evidence of their existence has been found since. In 2008, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the IUCN, officially declared the Javan tiger extinct. However, I'm confident this is wrong. Over the years, there have been sporadic reports and alleged sightings. In 2019, villagers near Sukabumi in West Java reported seeing a large cat resembling the Javan tiger. A hair sample collected from the site underwent DNA analysis, and in 2024, researchers suggested it matched the genetic profile of the Javan tiger. This finding has reignited the hope and debate about the tiger's existence. However, some experts urge caution, pointing towards potential issues with the DNA analysis and the possibility of contamination. As of now, the Javan tiger is still considered extinct. Those were 5 extinct animals that might still be alive. What do you think? Could any of these creatures still be out there? Let me know in the comments. What extinct animals do you think are still alive? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support my work, consider joining my Patreon. Your support helps me bring you content like this every week. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep exploring.